Hi, here we have a Thunderhawk gunship in the colours of the Dark Angels chapter. This particular model is made of resin. It's from Forge World, and it is the first 40k scale pattern Thunderhawk gunship that Forge World produced. There was a very limited run metal model prior to that. Very expensive at the time and horrendously expensive now, so I don't have one to show you. That in turn was derived from an epic scale model of the same sort of design, but there was another Thunderhawk gunship model before that, one that existed way back in the days of Rogue Trader. And here it is. This is the original epic scale Thunderhawk. And say this was available when Rogue Trader was the standard 40k scale rules, and I have been challenged by a loyal viewer to try and produce one of these at Warhammer 40,000 scale, and so in this video that is exactly what I am going to do. As always, I started out with some two-dimensional sketches of what I wanted at a one-to-one scale. I haven't scaled this up in quite the same way as I have with the tanks I've been scaling up from epic scale, because that would have produced a model that was only a little bigger than a Leman Russ or an Orc battle wagon, and I knew that the model had to be far larger, so I've used a different scale to increase the size of this. And then, of course, I went from the two-dimensional sketch to my three-dimensional card prototype of the fuselage, and I decided that this was far too big. So I started again. Returning quite literally to the drawing board, I produced a second set of scaled drawings of what I wanted to create, just a little bit smaller than last time. And again, once I'd done these, I created my three-dimensional card prototype. Only this time, I was actually satisfied with what I had. The hull, the wings, and underneath spaces for the missiles to be fitted in. And so after making this version out of cardboard, I moved on to a plasticard core that you see here. And the only change I've made from the initial card version to the plasticard version is the size of these cutouts for the missiles. And that is because I bought the pieces that I will be turning into the missiles. By the way, these come from these multicoloured biros. It's just the forward section taken off, and I realised I needed to make these a little bit wider so I could fit 3 in on each side. But now with the basic core done, I'm going to start adding all the details. This is the Thunderhawk model with details added to match those that are on the original epic scale miniature, and I've got one of the missiles I've created here. I built half a dozen in total, 3 are blue, 3 are pink. I'll just show you one of the blue ones, because sadly the pink ones actually look rather obscene, but anyway, they will look better once painted. However, I'm not going to be painting this model just yet because I'm not actually happy with the level of detail at this scale. It may have worked at epic scale, but I think it looks rather dull once it's made bigger. That's part of the reason why this section here is black. This is just cardboard stuck on with blue tack to show you what that disc would look like, because I may be changing the size of that as I improve the detailing somewhat, and I'm going to be taking some inspiration for details that I add from vintage Rogue Trader vehicles, which means the original Rhino and the Land Raider, and I will be using plasticard and spare parts to recreate some of the features found on these models on this one, so that it still looks like it would be a contemporary of these from the Rogue Trader days, but no longer looks quite so dull. So after making hefty use of some artistic license, I now have a fully detailed Warhammer 40,000 scale Thunderhawk gunship based off the epic scale model. And to start with, I have got this detail plate on the front. I have made this smaller than the original, and I have marked on this the Dark Angels emblem, because of course that's my personal chapter. And I've also put similar but smaller panels onto each of the wings, also bearing the emblem of the Dark Angels. In addition to that sort of marking, I have on the turret added an aquila as best as I could. It's very difficult to cut that out, even using very thin plastic card, but I've done my best. If I turn the model over, you can see that I have added an extra pair of twin heavy bolter turrets, and I have done that so that the armament on this model matches the armament on the actual Forge World model. And of course, also underneath, rather prominently, there is some landing gear that is in a deployed position. So this model will sit about 20mm off a gaming table if placed down, rather than being flat against it. And if I turn to the back, you can see the engines, which were just flat discs previously. I actually didn't show them in that part of the video. I have built these out, and to do that I have just used the tops from some toothpaste tubes. I had to saw them down slightly so they fit properly. But in sawing them down, I also got some smaller sort of funnel shaped pieces, which I was then able to make use of on the underside as sort of landing thrusters. The original Rogue Trader vintage Rhino provided inspiration for quite a number of the details I've added. Primarily here, this cockpit module is based off the rear access ramp piece on the original Rhino, sometimes also used as a forward hull plate. The viewports that are normally just here, I see I've added one either side as well, and I've actually added some more all the way around the upper fuselage in sort of arc detailed sections. And other details from the Rhino that I have copied include these round plates here, which are based off the hull plates which just seal the holes left in the bottom of the Rhino fuselage. I've put one on each of the las cannon mountings, one on each heavy bolter turret, and then I've used two more on the upper fuselage just to add a little bit more detail to them. I have used some actual Rhino parts in the form of the headlight strips at the front and the back. And if I flip it over again, you can see that I have duplicated the forward headlight blocks here on the inside of each of the wings. And then here I have added an extra access hatch underneath, which is based on the top hatch of the Rhino. As well as the Rhino, I have drawn on the Rogue Trader vintage Land Raider kit for some details, and I've duplicated pretty much all of the main details on the side of this kit on my Thunderhawk model. I have placed a hatch either side of the fuselage. I have got this sort of detail here with the cabling, and I also have this little sort of just square panel. I have put that on there, and a second one at the back. And there's in fact further one of those cable based details on each side underneath. And then if I turn the model to the back, this vent and the two round details are in fact based on the back of the Land Raider hull. And finally, looking to the cockpit module again, this viewport here, which is slightly larger than the other two, is in fact based off the viewport piece on the front of the Land Raider model. And so now, with my detailed Thunderhawk gunship, I am ready to start painting. So here we have the fully painted Thunderhawk gunship in its Rogue Trader era style, had it been available in this scale at that time. And you can see I've now fixed on the Hellstrike missiles, which are actually closer in scale to Deathstrike missiles than they are Hellstrike, but that's just how large they appeared on the model at that time. So I followed that scale. And if I pan out a little bit, I have the Forge World resin version, the first pattern rather than the one currently available. And you can see how vastly different they are in style. And I do think the newer version is far better than this one could possibly have been. But still, this has actually come out better than I did expect it to. To finish off this video though, I will just show off the Thunderhawk gunship model alongside a number of Rogue Trader vintage Space Marine models, including the Modelling Workshop version of the Whirlwind and Vindicator support vehicles, so that you can see how this vehicle may have appeared on the battlefield alongside other models of the same vintage had it been available. And I hope you've enjoyed having a look at the Thunderhawk we perhaps thankfully never got, and thanks for watching. Bye.